Ladies and gentlemen, listen here. I want you to pause for a second and breathe. I'm talking to you. Yes, you, the woman reading this. The one who's been through the fire, but still walks with grace. The one who sometimes forgets just how powerful, how radiant, how anointed she really is. Gorgeous woman, these signs, they ain't just coincidences. These are divine fingerprints, evidence that the Creator hasn't just touched your life. He's been walking beside you the entire time. You ever notice how when you walk in a room, the energy changes? That's not just charisma, sweetheart. That's peace. That's God working through you. You don't bring noise. You bring stillness. People feel safer around you because your soul is settled. That's not random. That's favor. And look at how doors have opened. Jobs, people, moments, breakthroughs, sometimes without you even knocking. You didn't chase it. It came because it was sent. That's not luck. That's alignment. That's when heaven and earth agree it's your season. You've been tested, haven't you? Broken at times, bent but never destroyed. And somehow, you still smile, still give, still love. That's grace. That's God giving you strength most people wouldn't survive with. But you made it look beautiful. And your circle, it's smaller now, but it's real. The energy is clean. The love is solid. You've shed the takers, the fakes, the ones who clung to you out of need. Now, you're surrounded by purpose, not pity. That's growth. That's discernment. Another gift from above. You don't beg anymore. Not for attention, not for validation, not for breadcrumbs. Why? Because you know who you are. You know whose you are. That crown doesn't slip because it's not borrowed. It was crafted for you. And look how you've learned to be grateful. Not just for the big wins, but for sunlight, warm tea, belly laughs, safe silence. That's divine maturity. That's eyes opened by grace, not ego. Your glow, it's not makeup, it's not filters, it's purpose. It's God lighting you from within. You don't chase applause because you already have approval. From the only one who matters, you've become unshakable. Not because life got easier, but because your faith got stronger. That's resilience. That's armor only God could give. And the best part, you rise. But you lift others while doing it. You don't dim your shine to make others comfortable. You encourage. You inspire. You reflect the light you've received. Last thing, your connection to God, it's real. It's deep. You don't just call when things go wrong. You walk with Him daily. That's power. That's why your path is guided, even when you can't see the whole map. So hold your head high, beautiful soul. You are blessed, chosen, protected. You're not just pretty, you're purposeful. And that's proof God is blessing your life. Keep walking, keep glowing. Heaven's got you. You radiate peace, not chaos. It's not just the way you speak softly or how your smile puts people at ease. It's deeper than that. It's the calm in your spirit that reaches out and settles the storm in others. People find themselves opening up to you without knowing why. They feel safe around you, not because you say all the right things, but because your presence says, you're okay here. You can breathe. That's something that can't be faked. That's something earned through experience, reflection, healing, and grace. You've walked through enough battles to understand the value of silence over shouting, stillness over frenzy, peace over proving a point. You don't react to everything because not everything deserves your energy. You've learned that peace is not the absence of conflict. It's the ability to stay grounded in the middle of it. While others are tossed around by every wave, you move like the ocean, steady, vast, and full of mystery. Your peace doesn't mean you haven't faced storms. It means you found the anchor within them. People can sense it. They come to you not for drama, but for clarity. They may not even realize it, but they gravitate toward your energy because it feels like rest. You offer something rare in a loud, distracted world. Stillness. You don't need to fight for your place because you are the place. A refuge. A reset. Your peace speaks louder than any argument ever could. This kind of peace is sacred. It comes from knowing who you are and who God is in your life. It's the kind of peace that can't be shaken, only shared. The more you live in it, the more you carry it. Not just for yourself, but for everyone lucky enough to cross your path. Doors open without force. That's how you know it's not just chance. It's divine timing. You've stopped chasing things that drain you, and instead, you've learned to align yourself with what's meant for you. And when you do that, something incredible happens. The right doors don't just appear. They open. No pushing, no begging, no proving. Just a quiet knowing, a soft surrender. And then, movement. You felt it before. That moment when the job you didn't expect calls you back. When the connection you weren't looking for walks into your life. When the opportunity you almost gave up on comes back around at just the right time. That's not luck. That's what happens when you stop trying to manipulate outcomes and start trusting the process. You used to exhaust yourself trying to make things happen, pouring into people who didn't pour back, forcing timelines, chasing titles, praying for something that deep down didn't feel right. But you grew. You started to let go. And when you did, things began to shift. You found out that when something is truly for you, it won't require you to betray yourself to keep it. It won't drain your joy or steal your peace. It will come with confirmation, not confusion. The doors that open without force are the ones blessed by God. They come when your heart is ready, not just when your hands are eager. They come when you've done the work, learned the lessons, and let go of control. And when you walk through them, they feel different. Lighter, freer, real. You don't have to perform or pretend. You just have to be. And in that space, favor flows. What's yours won't need to be chased. It'll recognize you, and it'll open like it's been waiting for you all along. You've overcome battles gracefully. Not because the fight wasn't hard, not because you didn't want to give up some days, but because you chose to rise differently. You didn't let bitterness take root. You didn't let the pain mold you into someone you're not. You felt everything deeply, the hurt, the heartbreak, the disappointment, but you didn't stay there. You allowed yourself to grieve, but you also allowed yourself to grow. Some of the things you went through, others wouldn't even believe. You wore your smile like armor, while quietly waging wars inside your mind and heart. But even then, you never stopped showing up. You never stopped loving, hoping, building. That kind of strength, it's quiet, steady, and sacred. It doesn't need to be loud to be powerful. You walked through fire and didn't become ashes. You became gold. There were times you could have lashed out, retaliated, shut down completely, but you didn't. Instead, you kept your dignity. You learned to set boundaries with compassion. You chose healing over hatred, self-respect over self-destruction. That's grace. That's maturity, birthed through pain. You didn't let what broke you define you. You used it to refine you. Every scar you carry is a story of survival, a reminder that you didn't fold. And now? Here because life was easy. You're here because you made the decision again and again to keep going with grace in your hands and strength in your soul. You attract sincere people because you've become sincere within yourself. You no longer wear masks, no longer twist yourself into versions that please the crowd. You speak truth, move with intention, and show up as you are. And that energy, it's magnetic to those who are real, those who are grounded, those who are tired of pretending. You've done the inner work, cleared the clutter, and now your presence speaks a language that only honest hearts can hear. It wasn't always this way. You used to entertain people who smiled to your face but drained your spirit. You gave chances to those who only took, and you confused chaos with connection. But you learned the difference between being needed and being valued. You stopped tolerating crumbs when you knew you were meant for full tables. That shift in your spirit, when you stopped begging to be seen and started standing in your worth, it changed everything. Now the people in your life, they come with respect, with depth, with truth. They aren't perfect, but they're present. They show up. They support you without strings. They celebrate you in private and protect you in public. These are not coincidences. This is what happens when you become a mirror of what you want to receive. Your healed energy repels the fake and invites the genuine. You've stopped settling for surface. You crave substance, and that craving has become your filter. Your life is no longer crowded, but it's full in the ways that matter most. You don't need 100 people around you, just a few souls who see you, hear you, and love you without performance. And that's exactly what's happening, because when you lead with sincerity, the right people don't just find you, they feel you and they stay. You no longer beg for love or attention because you've realized that what is meant for you doesn't need to be chased. It chooses you back, effortlessly. You've stopped over-explaining, over-giving, and overextending yourself just to be noticed or appreciated. That season of bending until you almost broke is behind you. You've reclaimed your power, not with arrogance, but with quiet certainty. You know your worth now, and you carry that truth in how you walk, how you speak, and most importantly, in what you no longer tolerate. There was a time when silence from someone you cared about felt like punishment. You used to measure your value by how quickly they texted back, how often they showed up, how loud their love was. You used to water dead plants, hoping something would bloom. But now you've grown into the truth that love doesn't have to hurt to be real. Attention doesn't have to be earned through sacrifice. You don't have to shrink yourself to be chosen. You've become the woman who doesn't chase, but attracts. Not because you're playing games, but because you finally understand you are the table. You no longer fear solitude because you've learned that peace is far more valuable than presence that feels forced. You've stopped begging for breadcrumbs of affection when you've got a whole feast of self-love within you. Now you notice red flags the first time. You walk away when you feel your spirit being drained. You understand that someone else's inability to love you deeply has nothing to do with your worth. You've stopped asking, Why don't they see me? And started affirming, I see me, I choose me. Whole has room to finally arrive without confusion, without begging, without loss of self. You feel deep gratitude for little things because you've learned that joy doesn't always come in loud, dramatic moments. It often whispers in the quiet. You've slowed down enough to notice the sacred and the simple, the warmth of sunlight through your window, the sound of laughter over coffee, a soft bed after a long day, or a moment of stillness that feels like a prayer. You've realized that life isn't about chasing the next big thing. It's about recognizing the beauty in what's already here. There was a time when you overlooked these moments, always reaching for more, measuring your life by milestones and missed deadlines. But now, your heart has shifted. You wake up with thankfulness, full breath in your lungs, and peace in your mind. You've been through enough to understand that the little things aren't little at all. They're the foundation of a meaningful life. This gratitude didn't come from comfort. It came from contrast, from losing what you once took for granted, from healing through what you thought would break you, from walking through dark valleys and coming out with eyes that now see the light differently. You don't need everything to be perfect anymore. You just need it to be real. You find joy in being present, in being able to love and be loved, in small moments of clarity or laughter, in knowing that even in the chaos, your spirit can remain steady. You thank God for what you used to overlook. You smile at things you used to rush past. You found peace not in having it all, but in finally appreciating what you have. Gratitude has become your lens, your rhythm, your quiet celebration. It's changed your energy, elevated your perspective, and reminded you that life, even at its simplest, is still something sacred. You glow from purpose, not validation, because you've stopped living for applause and started living from alignment. You no longer need the world to constantly reassure you of your worth. You know it deeply and quietly in your bones. You've learned that when you're walking in your calling, the light comes from within, not from approval outside of you. You've discovered a beauty that doesn't fade when people stop clapping because it's rooted in something unshakable, truth. There was a time you looked outward for confirmation, for praise, for someone to tell you that you were enough. You performed, you adjusted, you over-delivered. You lived to please, hoping it would fill the ache inside, but the applause never lasted. The high always faded. So you dug deeper. You asked harder questions. You peeled back the layers until what was left was something honest, something real. And that's where you found it. Purpose. Now. Your glow is different. It's not for show. It's for impact. You don't move to impress. You move with intention. You've connected with something bigger than validation. Your why. And that why fuels you. It wakes you up in the morning and grounds you at night. You're not just existing. You're living, building, healing, creating from a place that isn't desperate for attention, but driven by meaning. This glow, it doesn't come from filters or lights. It comes from knowing you're walking the path God made for you, even if no one's watching. You shine because your soul is on fire with purpose, because you've traded the temporary satisfaction of being seen for the lasting peace of being fulfilled. Your light doesn't dim when others look away, because you're not lit by them. You're lit by the purpose that was planted in you long before anyone knew your name. Your spirit is harder to shake because you've been through enough to know who you are and who walks with you. You don't crumble the way you used to. You don't let every storm knock you off course because you've learned how to anchor yourself. Life has tested you repeatedly, and each time you found a way to stand back up, even if your hands were trembling. That strength didn't come from pretending you're untouchable. It came from surviving what was meant to break you and deciding you'd be better, not bitter. You've stopped reacting to everything that tries to pull you out of character. You've stopped explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. You know what peace costs now, and you protect it fiercely. The same battles that used to shake you down to your core now barely rattle the surface. That's not because life got easier. It's because you got wiser, steadier, and more grounded in truth. You don't entertain chaos like you used to. You don't let every opinion sink into your soul. You know how to pause, how to pray, how to step back and see the bigger picture. That kind of clarity, that comes from spiritual maturity, from time in the valley, from letting God rebuild what life tried to destroy. Now, people wonder how you stay so calm, how you keep showing up, how you smile with so much weight on your shoulders. But they don't see the nights you spent on your knees, the moments you almost gave up, but didn't. That fire inside of you, it's been refined. You're not easily moved because you've already faced the worst and found out you're still here, stronger, softer, wiser, unshakable. Not because nothing happens to you, but because nothing owns you anymore. You lift others without dimming yourself because you've learned that true empowerment doesn't come from taking from others, but from giving without loss. You understand that you don't need to shrink to make someone else feel bigger. Your light isn't a limited resource. It's an endless supply that only grows the more you share it. You've found that when you help someone rise, you don't fall. You elevate alongside them. Your strength doesn't diminish by lifting others. It amplifies. There was a time when you believed that supporting others meant sacrificing your own needs. You thought you had to hide your brilliance to make room for someone else's shine. But now, you know better. You've seen the power in supporting others without competition, in cheering for their victories without feeling threatened by them. You've realized that we're all meant to succeed, and lifting others doesn't mean you have to dim your own flame. It means you contribute to creating an environment where everyone can thrive. You don't see the world as a zero-sum game anymore. You've stopped comparing and started celebrating. You see that the success of those around you doesn't diminish yours, but instead it adds to the collective beauty of life. You give space for others to shine without shrinking yourself into the background. You lift others because you know that it doesn't take away from your worth. It only strengthens the community, the circle, the world around you. Your kindness doesn't make you weak. It makes you a force of nature. Your ability to raise people up is a reflection of the abundance you found within yourself. You've become someone whose light shines so brightly that it encourages others to shine their own, without fear, without hesitation. And that is a rare gift, one that multiplies the more you give it away. You feel a deeper connection with God because you've stopped waiting for Him to speak in the loudest ways and started recognizing His presence in the smallest moments. Your relationship with Him has shifted from being transactional to being deeply relational. You no longer seek His hand, but His heart. You've learned to listen not just in the quiet moments of prayer, but in the hustle of your everyday life. The stillness in your soul is where you hear his whispers, guiding you, grounding you, reassuring you. There was a time when you only called on God when you were in need. You sought him in desperation, in moments of crisis, because that was when you thought he was closest. But now you realize that God doesn't just show up in the storms. He's with you in the calm too. His presence is not a reaction to your pain, but a constant thread woven throughout every moment. You've started to see his fingerprints in the beauty of nature, in the kindness of strangers, in the lessons learned from failure, in the quiet peace that settles in your heart when you let go of control. You've let go of the expectation that your connection with God should be grand or extraordinary. It doesn't need to be marked by miracles or profound events. It's found in the simplicity of daily surrender. You've learned to trust his timing, to find joy in his plan even when it doesn't make sense. That trust has deepened your faith. Your relationship with him is now built on gratitude, on surrender, on knowing that even when the road seems unclear, his presence is never far away. And in that space, you found peace that transcends understanding, a peace that comes from knowing that you are never truly alone. You have walked through challenges and risen stronger, learning to embrace the fullness of your being and the power within you. Each step has been a lesson in resilience, purpose, and self-worth. You've stopped seeking validation from the outside world because you now understand that the truest form of strength comes from within. Your light is not only yours to hold, but to share. And in sharing, you lift others without dimming yourself. You attract sincere people who value the real you, not the version you felt forced to be. You no longer beg for love, attention, or approval. Instead, you give and receive love from a place of complete fulfillment. Through every battle, you've learned that grace and peace are earned through growth, and that your spirit is harder to shake than you ever imagined. You glow not for the applause, but because you are walking in your purpose, knowing that what is meant for you will always find its way. Your connection with God has deepened, and you now recognize his presence in the quiet moments of life, allowing his guidance to illuminate your path. You are a woman of strength, wisdom, and beauty, not because of what the world sees, but because of what you've built inside yourself. You've learned that life is about embracing the journey, knowing that through faith, purpose, and self-love, you are capable of anything. And as you continue to grow and glow, you will continue to inspire, lift, and share your light with those fortunate enough to cross your path. You are not just surviving, you are thriving, and nothing can dim the brilliance you now carry.